Have you ever felt like you're walking through life with a lens that allows you to see beyond the surface? A deeper knowing that others can't quite comprehend? Maybe it's a gut feeling, a sixth sense, or perhaps it's a gift. The world tells us that these people, those who see through the masks of others, are the chosen ones. But there's a catch. When you become aware of the truth, you also become a target. The manipulative individuals around you start to shift their tactics. Suddenly, they know you know, and that's when the game changes. Being a chosen one is a unique experience. It's not just about perceiving things others can't. It's about navigating a world where many will try to control or deceive you. When they realize that you can see through them, they change, they adapt, and they start to play a different game. This video is about understanding what happens when these people, who once thought they had control over you, realize that you see them for who they truly are. It's about recognizing the 7 strategies they will employ when they know you know. The sudden transformation when they shift to mask their true intentions. It's almost a bizarre experience. One moment they are one way, their behavior predictable, their intentions clear. Then the shift happens. It could be as subtle as a change in their tone or as jarring as an unexpected act of kindness. But you, the chosen one, notice it, you feel it. The manipulation they once wore as their armor now starts to unravel, but instead of staying exposed, they adapt. They create a new mask. They begin to morph into someone else. Someone they think will disarm you. I remember the first time I encountered this. It was with a colleague, someone who I had worked with for years. He was always the one who had a hidden agenda, always the one who would smile in your face while plotting behind your back. He was the master of disguise. But one day I caught him. I saw through the games he played and the manipulation he used to get what he wanted. At first, he tried to keep his distance, acting indifferent. But then out of nowhere, he changed. He became overly friendly, constantly asking if I needed help, suddenly acting as though he genuinely cared about my success. But here's the truth. This sudden transformation wasn't real. It was a defense mechanism. He wasn't trying to make amends or be a better person. He was merely trying to re-establish control. And that's when I learned one of the most valuable lessons. When people realize you see through them, they will shift their persona to protect themselves. They'll become whatever they think you want to see, but it's just a mask, and behind it is the same old person. As a chosen one, it's essential to recognize this shift for what it truly is, a manipulation tactic. When they change suddenly, it's not because they've had some epiphany or transformation. It's because they're trying to regain what they've lost. They no longer have power over you, and in a desperate attempt to reclaim that control, they reinvent themselves. But the truth is, a leopard doesn't change its spots. The manipulation still lurks underneath. So how do you respond to this sudden transformation? You stand firm in your awareness. Don't be fooled by the new facade. Keep your distance, trust your instincts, and remember, the mask may change, but the intentions rarely do. Conditional presence, a relationship of convenience, not connection. Have you ever had a friend or acquaintance who only seems to be around when they need something from you? At first, it seems like you're both friends, like you have a real connection. They show interest in your life, ask about your day, offer advice, and then, when you're in need, when you turn to them for help, they disappear. Suddenly, they're nowhere to be found. The texts go unanswered, the calls unreturned. It's like they were only there when they could take something from you, but not when you had something to offer them. I've been there. I remember a time when I was in the midst of a personal struggle. A friend who had always been there when things were easy, when I was thriving, happy, and successful, suddenly wasn't available. I needed support, someone to talk to, but the only thing I heard were the echoes of my own voice in a quiet room. This wasn't the first time it had happened. Time and again, this person would be there when they needed a favor, when they needed a shoulder to lean on. But as soon as I was the one asking for help, they vanished into thin air. At first, it hurt. It stung deeply to realize that the connection I thought we shared wasn't real. It wasn't based on mutual respect or care. It was based on convenience. They had used me, and once they didn't need me anymore, I was discarded. It was a harsh lesson in understanding that some relationships are not what they seem. They are not built on true connection or affection. They are built on what you can provide to someone else. These are the relationships of convenience, not of substance. But here's what I learned from that experience. The chosen ones have a unique ability to sense when a relationship is built on mutual benefit versus when it's only valuable to one side. Manipulative individuals understand this dynamic too. They know when they need something from you, and that's when they show up. When the tides turn and you need something in return, they disappear. Their presence is not for you, it's for them. And it's important to recognize this pattern. So how do you deal with this? You set boundaries. You stop allowing people to use your time and energy without giving anything in return. The moment you recognize that a relationship is conditional, you begin to protect yourself emotionally. You don't let them pull you back into their world of one-sided transactions. It's tough because we're wired to be empathetic, to want to help, to trust. But when you're the chosen one, you have to learn the balance between giving and protecting yourself from being drained by those who only care when it benefits them. Recognizing this dynamic is empowering. It's not about being selfish, it's about self-preservation. Understand that your worth doesn't come from what you can do for others, it comes from who you are. And when you stop offering yourself to people who only show up when they need something, you start to value yourself more. And that's when true connections begin to flourish. When you stop allowing yourself to be used, that's when real, deep, meaningful relationships start to come into your life. Hostile energy, when manipulators get defensive and aggressive. Have you ever been in a situation where someone who once seemed calm and composed suddenly turns on you with hostility and aggression? The shift can feel like a punch to the gut, especially when it comes from someone you never expected to act that way. Manipulators are masters of masking their true intentions, and the moment they realize their cover is blown, they often resort to defensive or even aggressive behavior. It's a tactic they use to regain control, to make you question your perceptions, and to throw you off balance. I once had a mentor who I respected deeply. He was the kind of person everyone looked up to, a leader in the truest sense. But over time, I started noticing certain inconsistencies in his actions, small things at first. His words didn't always match his actions, and I began to feel that something wasn't quite right. The tipping point came during a conversation where I confronted him about some of his recent behavior. Instead of the calm, rational response I had expected, he became defensive. His tone shifted, his words sharp and accusatory. It was as if he were trying to shift the blame back onto me. It was in that moment that I realized what was happening. He was using hostility as a shield. When people are caught off guard, when they realize their manipulation is no longer working, they will often react with anger or aggression. It's a defense mechanism, an attempt to overpower you emotionally, to make you doubt yourself, and to force you into submission. They want to regain the power they lost, and hostility is often the quickest way to do that. The key is to recognize this behavior for what it is, a last-ditch effort to maintain control. Manipulators know that by making you feel attacked, they can distract you from the truth. They hope you'll retreat, second-guess yourself, or even apologize for pointing out their flaws. But here's the thing, you don't have to take the bait. When faced with hostility, remember that it's not about you, it's about them. It's a projection of their own insecurity and fear. I learned that when faced with defensive or aggressive behavior, the best response is to remain calm and centered. Don't let them provoke you. Instead, hold your ground. Trust your instincts, stay grounded in your truth, and refuse to be drawn into a power struggle. Their aggression is not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of their need to protect their own fragile sense of control. The web of lies, how they spin falsehoods to keep control. Lies have a way of spreading, don't they? One small fib can quickly snowball into a tangled web of deceit. And when you're dealing with someone who manipulates others, you can bet that the lies are never just one-off statements. They are part of an elaborate, ongoing narrative designed to maintain control. Manipulators don't just tell lies for the sake of convenience. They weave stories, build false realities and manipulate the truth to create a version of events that works in their favor. The web they create is meant to confuse, disorient, and ultimately trap you into believing their version of reality. I'll never forget the time I was caught in a web of lies. It started innocently enough with a small lie, one that I didn't think much of. But as I dug deeper into the situation, I realized that every answer I received led to more contradictions. It was like pulling on a thread of a sweater, only to find that the entire thing was unraveling. The more I exposed, the more lies I uncovered, and eventually I was so entangled in their falsehoods that I couldn't even see where the truth began and ended. Manipulators thrive in these situations because they understand the power of confusion. If they can keep you uncertain, if they can make you question what's real and what isn't, they can control you. The lies they tell are not just about protecting themselves. They're about manipulating your perception of reality. They want you to be so confused that you no longer trust your own instincts or your own version of events. But here's the secret. The web of lies is not invincible. It may be complex, but it's also fragile. The truth always has a way of coming to light, no matter how many lies are stacked on top of it. When you're caught in a web of lies, the best thing you can do is keep pulling at the threads. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to confront inconsistencies. And most importantly, don't let their lies make you question your own truth. Trust your ability to see through the deception. And trust that the truth will eventually reveal itself. The most powerful weapon you have against a manipulator's lies is your own clarity. Stay focused, stay grounded, and remember, the truth doesn't need to be hidden. It will find its way to the surface eventually. And when it does, the manipulator's web will come crashing down. Manipulated sympathy when they use reformed behavior to win you back. Have you ever been in a situation where someone who has wronged you suddenly shows up with a completely different attitude, begging for forgiveness or claiming that they've changed? At first, it may seem like a genuine transformation. They're apologetic, self-reflective, and even show signs of vulnerability. But beneath the surface, this reformed behavior often isn't about making amends. It's about manipulation. They're not truly trying to change. They're trying to win you back, to regain the control they lost when you saw through them. I had a friend once who was incredibly manipulative. She knew how to play the emotional game better than anyone. When we first met, I was drawn to her charisma and charm. But over time, I began to see the cracks in her facade, how she used people to get what she wanted, and how she would constantly manipulate situations to her advantage. After a falling out, I decided to cut ties with her. I had seen through her games, and I couldn't continue to let her control me, but then something unexpected happened. She reached out to me. She apologized, saying she had learned from her mistakes and that she had changed. For a moment, I was tempted. Maybe, just maybe, she was being sincere. But as I listened to her, I realized something important. Her apology wasn't about me. It wasn't about taking responsibility for her actions. It was about getting me back into her orbit, getting me to lower my guard, and most importantly, getting me to forgive her. Her reformation was nothing more than a manipulation tactic. She wasn't truly sorry. She was just trying to get back into my life because I was a resource for her. And that's when I understood. Manipulators know how to pull on your heartstrings. They use sympathy, vulnerability, and change as tools to regain control. They hope that you'll fall for their act, that you'll believe they've genuinely changed, and that you'll forgive them. The lesson here is simple. When someone has shown you who they are, believe them. Don't be swayed by their attempts to manipulate your emotions. True change comes from consistent action, not from a few tears and empty words. If someone is truly sorry, their actions will speak louder than any apology. And if they're just trying to manipulate your sympathy, you'll recognize the signs. When you're the chosen one, you can't afford to be fooled by false reformation. You must remain steadfast in your understanding of who people really are, not who they pretend to be in the moment of vulnerability. Stay true to your own boundaries and trust yourself to see through their acts. True healing comes from within, not from the manipulation of others. Confidence undermining the subtle art of making you doubt yourself. Have you ever had someone close to you, someone you trusted, subtly undermine your confidence? At first, it seems like innocent comments or advice, but as time goes on, you realize that something more sinister is at play. Manipulators are masters of this tactic. They don't come at you head-on with insults or blatant attacks. No, they operate in the shadows. They chip away at your self-esteem piece by piece, turning every compliment into a critique and every success into something you need to downplay. The goal isn't to destroy you outright. It's to weaken you, to make you doubt yourself, and to slowly erode your sense of worth until you're completely dependent on their validation. I've had my own experience with this. It started with a colleague, someone I had looked up to for years. At first, everything seemed fine. He would compliment my work, offer advice, and seem genuinely interested in my success. But as time passed, those compliments started to feel different. When I shared an accomplishment, he'd say something like, "That's great, but I thought you would have gotten it done faster." Or, "It's good, but I think it could have been a bit better if you'd taken a different approach." Little comments, seemingly innocent, but over time, they began to build up. At first, I didn't notice it. After all, everyone wants to be better, right? But as his critiques started to grow more frequent, I began to question myself. Was I really doing as well as I thought? Was I really as capable as I believed? The more I doubted myself, the more I relied on him for approval. And that's when I realized what was happening. He wasn't trying to help me. He was trying to control me. By making me question my abilities. He was positioning himself as the one with all the answers. He wanted me to depend on him for validation, and in doing so, he would have power over me. It took me a while to recognize this for what it was. Confidence undermining is often so subtle that we don't realize it's happening until it's too late. But once you're aware of it, it becomes easier to spot. These individuals thrive on making you feel small, making you doubt your abilities, so that you'll turn to them for approval. The best defense against this is to trust your own instincts. When you feel like someone is starting to chip away at your confidence, stop and reflect. Ask yourself if their words are truly constructive or if they're just meant to make you feel insecure. And remember this, your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion. Stand firm in your abilities and don't let anyone make you question your own value. Feigning ignorance, the deliberate denial of accountability. There's a particular kind of manipulation that involves pretending not to know or understand the impact of one's actions. It's the art of feigning ignorance, and it's one of the most frustrating tactics a manipulator can use. They'll act as if they didn't realize they hurt you, as if they didn't understand the consequences of their actions. It's a way for them to avoid taking responsibility and to shift the blame onto you. It's infuriating because, deep down, you know they know exactly what they're doing. They're just pretending they don't. I had a friend who used this tactic more times than I can count. Whenever she did something that hurt me, I would try to have an honest conversation with her about it. But instead of taking responsibility for her actions, she would act completely clueless. "I didn't know you felt that way," she'd say, or "I didn't realize that was such a big deal." She would play the innocent victim, as though I was overreacting, and the worst part was that it worked, at least for a while. I started to doubt myself. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe it wasn't such a big deal after all. But over time, I began to see the pattern. Whenever she was confronted with the consequences of her actions, she would act as though she had no idea what was going on. She would deflect, downplay, and deny responsibility. It was a way for her to avoid accountability without outright lying. By pretending not to understand, she could keep me on the defensive, questioning my own feelings and perceptions. And by the time I realized what she was doing, it was too late. She had already shifted the blame onto me, making me feel like I was the one at fault for even bringing it up. Feigning ignorance is one of the most frustrating forms of manipulation because it leaves you feeling helpless. You know the truth, but they're doing everything in their power to make you doubt it. The key to overcoming this tactic is to stand firm in your truth. When someone tries to deny accountability, don't let them control the narrative. Stick to the facts. Don't let their feigned confusion make you second-guess your experience. And most importantly, don't let them get away with it. Acknowledge their behavior for what it is, and don't allow them to shift the blame onto you. Empowering the chosen ones how to protect yourself from manipulation. As a chosen one, you've always had a deeper understanding of the world around you. You can sense when something isn't right, and you can see through the illusions others try to create. But with this gift comes a responsibility to protect yourself from those who would try to manipulate your energy and your emotions. Manipulation is a tool used by those who seek power, control, and influence, and it's not always easy to spot. But once you're aware of it, you can defend yourself against it. The first step to protecting yourself from manipulation is awareness. Recognize the signs when someone is trying to undermine your confidence, feed you lies, or manipulate your sympathy. Trust your instincts. You have the ability to sense when something is off, and it's essential to listen to that inner voice. Don't allow others to gaslight you into doubting your own reality. If you feel like something is wrong, it probably is. The second step is setting boundaries. Manipulators thrive on your willingness to let them into your life, to give them access to your emotions and your energy. They'll push your boundaries, trying to get you to give more of yourself than you're comfortable with. But as a chosen one, you must learn to say no. You must learn to protect your energy and refuse to let others drain you. Setting clear boundaries is a powerful way to protect yourself from manipulation. Lastly, trust your own worth. Manipulators will try to make you feel small, to make you doubt your abilities and your value. But the truth is, you are worthy of respect, love, and compassion, not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. Stand firm in your power and don't allow others to define your worth. You are a chosen one, and with that comes the power to protect yourself. You have the strength, the awareness, and the wisdom to recognize manipulation and rise above it. Remember, manipulation only works if you let it. So, stand tall, trust yourself, and know that no one has the power to take your light unless you give it to them.